Hello there, I'm Moldy, and a few days ago I made the perfect 12 minifigure Star Wars CMF representing every single movie from the Skywalker saga, and the comments were filled with quite a few of you talking about a Hasbro license deal, stopping LEGO from making Star Wars minifigures, or at least selling them exclusively. So today we're going to be busting the myths around this LEGO Star Wars and Hasbro license competition. Just before we continue with today's video, don't forget to check out the brand new channel merch down below, and may the bricks be with you always. So the reason I think this needs to be made into a video is there are a ton of really big LEGO Star Wars and LEGO in general fans that keep bringing up this Hasbro license deal. So I did a bit of digging, and of course licenses, they're not going to be public every single detail, but there is quite a bit that Hasbro post on their website, especially when it comes to Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Marvel, who they consider the big three of Disney. I really don't know how Indiana Jones is up there with Star Wars and Marvel, considering we got Black Series, we've got Legends, and we're yet to have a big run of figures from Indiana Jones, though they could probably definitely do quite a few of them. But they've recently got back the Indiana Jones license, so I guess Hasbro are just a little excited about that. But when it comes to minifigures, of course, LEGO is a construction toy. They're not selling action figures. But if they weren't allowed to make minifigures, I don't think we'd get any minifigures in any sort of LEGO sets. Because if you look at someone else that makes Star Wars or Marvel characters, like Fisher Price, who have an Imaginext, they're the ones with the giant Darth Vader and R2-D2 mechs, even their characters are more machine than actual characters, and they've got like rockets shooting out of their shoulders and a ton of different accessories that you just wouldn't find with the everyday action figure. I did also do a little bit of digging actually into Marvel action figures and characters in general. All of them are owned by Hasbro because there are so many different lines of Hasbro Marvel figures. I thought for sure, looking down the Smiths aisle, I was going to find something that didn't have the Hasbro mark on it, and even the ones that didn't have the Hasbro mark directly on them and they were on like the back of the packaging were like a little company that sprung off from Hasbro. So as far as action figures for Marvel, Indiana Jones, which I think is probably the last time that's going to be brought up this video, and Star Wars, mainly Marvel and Star Wars, Hasbro own the license. No one else can sell any sort of action figures. There are ways of getting around this. You can have posable display figures and figurines that I've got a few just behind me. I don't think any of them are actually posable. There are ways of getting around the action figure license. For instance, LEGO do buildable figures and construction toys. So rather than them being action figures and as accurate as action figures, they're just block toys. You know, everyone has the same arms, legs. I do think they're stepping close to the line when it comes to like custom molded helmets for Clone Troopers, Darth Vader, but their hats, their accessories, I think they'll probably get away with it. But the big reason that this has become a problem, and I do use air quotes when I say problem, I don't think Hasbro has anything to do with LEGO minifigures and a possible CMF. But we'll look back to that in just a second. The reason this is seen as a problem is because selling minifigures in a CMF is pretty much like selling action figures. They do come with a display stand and a few accessories, but that's not far off a lot of the Black Series and Marvel Legends. Now, the difference is we've seen that Star Wars and Marvel, the license for both themes are held by Hasbro. We've already got two lines of CMFs for Marvel minifigures, which if Hasbro did own a license, which meant we couldn't see CMFs, we wouldn't have got either of those series. And these were series for minifigures that Hasbro, a potential competitor of LEGO, though I feel like the two aren't as close as some people think, because usually fans like me will have action figures, LEGO figures, and we'll throw Funko in there as well. But they are in the toy business for this theme, so I guess your money's going to one or the other. I don't really see them as head-to-head competitors because they are selling completely different toys. But with the Marvel CMF series, both of them coming out, and the fact that there's a second, the first one isn't really telling us anything, because LEGO could put out the first one, Hasbro could get in contact, like, don't do that again, we don't appreciate that. And Hasbro aren't exactly selling collectible anythings themselves. All of the figures come in a box with a window, or at least the design on the outside of the box. You know exactly what you're getting, which is arguably probably the better way for them to sell their figures. I don't think I'd have any Black Series if I had to put my hand in for a pick and mix and get a random character. I want to know what Black Series I'm getting, whereas Lego get away with just putting a ton of minifigures in, and though we do have a way of identifying them thanks to the QR codes on the bottom, I think a Star Wars CMF, I definitely want to go in blind and just, at least for the first half, get a bunch of random minifigures. So why haven't we, if it's cool with Hasbro and there's no licensing problem, why haven't we got a CMF? Well, a load of you pointed it out in the comments why it both would work so well and also why it wouldn't work at all. You see, Star Wars does have a load of display sets. This Acclamator, for instance, which is probably going to have a ton of videos about it because this is the first mini scale ship I've built. I did a video on it yesterday, and you can also watch me build this in Saturday's live stream. And we also go over a ton of Star Wars fan theories, like what if Padme survived past Revenge of the Sith? But this set didn't come with any of these minifigures, and I can guarantee this is still probably already sold really, really well, and is definitely still going to continue selling well as we go later this year with all the other Revenge of the Sith sets, and especially May 4th. I can see loads of people adding this to their basket, 40-50 pound ship, similar to the Invisible Hand last year, just to meet one of the thresholds for the cool gift with purchases. And I'm getting a bit distracted, but I've also done a video on the first May 4th gift with purchase of this year, the Millennium Falcon poly bag. But they'll be on the end screen. A Star Wars CMF, minifigures don't really push Star Wars sets. And I know there is definitely a corner of Lego Star Wars as a community that does focus on the minifigures, especially when it comes to minifigures like Clone Troopers, Stormtroopers, army builders, and other named characters to still army build, but in terms of a collection rather than building a literal minifigure army. But Lego have proved time and time again now that minifigures don't sell Lego Star Wars sets. In fact, we've seen a big push recently on 18+ collector sets, and whilst it is really nice to be rewarded for spending hundreds on a UCS set by getting a few exclusive minifigures, these midi-scale ships, and the helmets as well. And I'm sure we'll see a few different collector sets over the next coming years. Even some of the dioramas, the Anakin and Sebulba pod racing diorama, comes with no minifigures, and Lego don't seem worried about how that set will sell. In recent years, Lego have put much more of an emphasis on the adults welcome section of Lego. They have recognized not only AFOLs, and you have a load of LAN members helping to advertise these larger display sets, but also the make and takes in store, and certain areas of the store are dedicated to adult fans of Lego. And I think as fans are getting older, they're playing less with the minifigures and focusing more on display sets. Brickheads are quite literally big brick built characters that don't come with minifigures, and they're probably selling better than the playset. So when it comes to a Star Wars CMF, definitely in terms of army building or different clone legions, it'd be really nice just to get 12 different legions of clone troopers in a CMF. That would be the perfect battle pack. But then people are buying CMFs by the crate, in which case Lego might as well be giving us vehicles and small ships in battle pack sets. So clone troopers don't work as well as a CMF as we'd like. They might be easy to buy, but then we're getting 4 clone troopers for about £3.50 or $5 each, which totals up to a small battle pack, which is not far off getting a vehicle with it. So these small battle packs are definitely cheaper than the CMFs, but what about named characters and other minifigures we could get? Well, the chances are with Lego Star Wars, how we see with Mando, with Vader, and a few of the more popular named characters, when they're in one set, they're in quite a few sets. January, we got Grogu and his pram, and Grogu was also released in a 4+ set, and that's something we see with a lot more of these expensive sets. Captain Rex came out initially in the UCS Venator, and then they released him in a cheaper set later on. So Star Wars are already making a ton of minifigures accessible. Palpatine was exclusive to a gunship, but even then, around the same time, we didn't get any other larger sets with exclusive minifigures in. Every year there is usually one set. 3 years ago was the Gunship, 2 years ago was the Ghost, and last year, I'm pretty sure that was the Onyx Cinder. So LEGO are making their minifigures accessible, albeit there's one expensive set to collect. And you can definitely see across years that there are some other exclusive minifigures, but for the most part, a lot of the minifigures are then released in cheaper sets or are able to be built Yularen in the UCS Venator, exclusive to the Venator, but that Imperial torso with a little signet on it, albeit not the exact same one. So collectors will still want to be spending that hundreds of pounds. But the Imperial torso in general has come in so many battle packs now, it's really, really cheap to pick up on Bricklink, and that's how I've created my own custom Yularen. So I agree with all of you, a CMF would be really, really cool, but I also agree it's so impractical for LEGO to release. I think it still would be nice to just get one CMF, clones, Imperials, named characters. I really don't mind just getting a Star Wars CMF, something new for the Star Wars theme would be really cool, especially with the re-release of some helmets. I did really like the comment that suggested a helmet CMF line where you get little brick built helmets akin to, I guess, something like Brickheads, but just the heads of these characters. And we've seen similar things released from other model companies, so I'm not sure we're likely to see it from LEGO, but it would still be pretty cool. Anyway, I don't want this video to go on for too long. Check out yesterday's video with the Acclamator, and if you've got time, watch the stream, because we talk so much about different Star Wars theories. There are a ton of interesting conversations to be heard. And let me know down in the comments, would you be in for a Star Wars CMF? A simple yes or no would do, though if you would like to tell me all the minifigures you'd like to see in a CMF, perhaps I'll get around to building some in the very far distant future. Hopefully this video has been able to clear up some of the misconceptions and lies around this Hasbro license. I don't see at all why Star Wars wouldn't be able to make a LEGO CMF, especially after 2 Marvel. I don't work for either company, so if there's any other news you'd like to keep me updated on, let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this waffle of a video. May the bricks be with you always.